How many of you play violin? Get out of here. How many play the viola? You stay. How about cello? Cello. Hi. How about the flute, the oboe? Singers? The whole kit and caboodle, right? The reason I ask that is just because what you're going to see this morning or hear this morning or both is a little bit of what we try to do individually with each student when they spend years with us, 2 to 4 years. We have programs that bring people to us from around the world. Doesn't matter if you come from China or from Japan, Honolulu, I don't give a damn where you come from. You're going to play that boron because that's your bank account. Now, why is it a bank account? Why is this the bank account? The boron. Gives you the power. What else? Sound. Bravo. Without sound, we're nothing. Sound is everything. Heartbeat of our mother, as we hear it down in the womb, right? That's the whole thing, right there. So, do you have an app, metronome app? Good. You should have more of a metronome app so you don't talk to each other all the time. XO, what does that mean? I hate you. Okay, so what you're going to see a little bit of is a very long process of educating someone or trying to give them information that I received when I was in my teenage life in New York through a very extraordinary person called Ivan Galamian. Ivan Galamian was one of the greatest minds that ever tried to explain the 4 strings that we play on. Frankly, the boron. And as he said, what we do is 85% here and 15% there. Now you'll ask why. Well, because without the bow, you play pizzicato, right? Power. So, you can't hear me? Sorry? Well, come on down then. Why don't you all come down, actually? There's plenty of room here. So it's not us and you, or you and us, them and them. It can be confusing. What the information you might hear might be a little confusing. If you are confused, the first thing you got to do, and don't use that iPhone, put it on paper, write it down, ask a question. I will ask you to ask me questions because I really don't want to lead anybody astray here this morning going out of the building saying, what the hell was he talking about? Okay? Because it is complicated. The concept is very simple, really very simple. And that's why I said to you, Galamian was extraordinary because he built on the knowledge that he received every year. He could help more and more youngsters understand it. This brain of ours is the slowest computer that exists. It's not a Mac, it's a schmack. It's a nothing, okay? It takes time. It takes time. Repetition, but proper repetition. Some people call it practicing, okay? Call it practicing. Proper practicing is very important. And the way we do that is we start with scales, actually open strings first. And I'll show you just quickly what I'm talking about. See, the concept is very simple. We have, how many levels of right arm do we need to play the violin? 7. You're out of the ballpark. How many? 4. Why 4? Huh? 4 strings. How simple is that? Isn't that wonderful? Okay. So what we have is, basically, we have 1 position, 2 position, 3 position, 4 position. And if you notice, the elbow never goes beyond that. It doesn't go here, and it doesn't go here. It doesn't mean that you won't use it. But in concept, the bow has to be parallel with the bridge. Sound, it's called sounding point. And what we try to do is do this. Yeah, that's from last night. the sounding point is here. It's about middle between the fingerboard and the bridge. It's called sounding point. In English, we use English only. And we have to move the bow in parallel. With every sounding point, the bow must be parallel with the bridge. Now, this is the sounding point, the beginning of the sound. The next thing is here. See? It doesn't go, which it wants to do because the elbow does that, right? So we have to change that. Modus operandi. It's hard to start moving your elbow against nature. It's not easy. So we have exercises, hundreds of them, okay? That's your sounding point. Now, when you're here, that's a color. Some composers call it ponticello. Very nice. That's another one. Here. Sul tasto. But to play, and we use this position. I started that a few months ago. Why? Because you can see it. When you're here, you can't really see it. You should, but at the start, there's so much going on that you forget to look. So, what we need to do is put the violin in the proper place on the shoulder, where you still are in contact peripherally with the eyes. Watch it. Oh, yeah. You don't watch it, you go, where is it? Oh, okay. So, Galamian said, nose, scroll, exactly the same angle. Simple, right? Yeah, but most people go. Yeah, I'm a virtuoso. So, very easy. Now come a whole bunch of things. Bend your thumb and curl your fingers. Bend your thumb and curl your fingers, because the bow must be flexible at all times for release purposes, not for just the attack, but for the release. So we call catch, release. Catch, stop the bow. Catch, release. See how the bow is moving? We call this out. We call this in. Now watch the elbow. Without the elbow, you can't do it. Okay? And then we go. Now you may ask, do you ever not play like that? Oh my God, yes. Of course. Do you only eat with salt and pepper? No. There's salt, there's pepper, there's everything. Tabasco, you name it. But you have to get the principle in your system of sounding point. Sounding point, okay? So, curl your fingers and bend your thumb. And if you really want to practice sometimes, put your thumb outside here and do that. All of a sudden, you'll see that it's much simpler. That's why we ask some people to play the viola, because the bow is heavier, it's a little more distance, etc., etc. So, in actual fact, that's all you're going to hear from me today. In a very short time, it's very difficult to get all the information in to the person playing. Also, they are very nervous because you're all watching them, and they're coming to play for Pinchas, Zukerman, you know. So we try to break that. We try to break that mode because we all have problems, my God. And if we share the problems, we might come up with a small solution sometime. Okay? So please write down questions, because I will ask you if you understand what in the world we're trying to do here. Because the violin actually is a fantastic instrument. And if you do it properly, you shouldn't have any pain. You should not be injured. I've been doing this for a very long time. Hey, I release my shoulders. You bet I do. Why not? So does Federer before he plays. And when he makes a little boo-boo on the backhand, what does he do? He goes right back to fundamentals, right? Well, you make a boo-boo, you go right back to fundamentals. Ask some of my colleagues, I see them here from the RPO. We're on tour. That's all I do is play scales every day. Heifetz played scales every day. Well, he's the king. He still is. So don't avoid your scales. Those are very important. Okay? Good, good. You're good listeners.